Ben, please, the stage is yours. Come on. Big applause for Ben Stewart. Hey. Hello.
But I wanted to firstly, thank the organizers for putting on this amazing event. And secondly, I wanted to thank the city of Hamburg. This is my first time here, and it's been an absolute treat. Thank you again for having me, and I hope that I can come back sometime soon. So here's a little background about myself. I'm the co-founder and CTO of a company called Blackbox AI. We specialize in AI and blockchain, mainly for client consulting work. I was born and raised in Denver, Colorado. I have a strong background in finance. I've worked in investment banks, hedge funds, mutual funds, private equity, doing everything from quantitative trading strategies to automating operations risk assessments. More recently, I was at a company called Betterment. They're based in the States, but what it is a robo-advisor. And what that means is that they make investing easy for people who may not have the time or may not have the financial background to understand it. While I was there, I helped scale the platform to 300,000 users and 10 billion assets under management. And I also built out a 401k record-keeping system from scratch. And for those of you that aren't familiar with a 401k system, just know that it's full of edge cases and nuances. It is not fun. I do not recommend doing it. And right now, I'm really focused on this idea of Web 3.0, right, where blockchain and AI are intersecting. I think that there's a ton of opportunity. I love getting my hands dirty with code. I also advise and trying to evangelize it as much as possible. Also, just a little background about myself. I did play sports, specifically basketball, and I was on the 2011 national championship team. Go Huskies. So I've learned a lot on this journey over the past year, right, operating this global decentralized team focused on AI and blockchain technologies. I'm looking forward to sharing that experience with you all. So I'm not a fortune teller, but the next 20 years are going to be fundamentally different than they are now. Does that mean embeddable AI? Does it mean robot workforces? Does it mean quantum computers? I'm not sure exactly, but I know that how we work, how we live is going to be a lot different. And for a lot of people, this can either be exciting or scary. Like, what do you guys think? Are you excited about this opportunity, or are you worried? Are you scared? Any reactions? Both balanced. Wrong answer. You should be excited. So we have these two revolutionary technologies, I'm talking about AI and blockchain, really kind of hitting their stride right now. And I think that at the point where they intersect, and we'll go into it more in my presentation as we talk about intelligent agents on the blockchain or using blockchain as a data store, I think there's a lot of power. I think we're starting to realize that. And for me, I think this is an exciting opportunity, and hopefully I can convert some of those who are less excited to be kind of on the same side as me. So the Web 3.0 transition for organizations is not easy, though. So I talk about being excited about this amazing, revolutionary technology, but it's not something you can just flip on a switch for. It's not something that just happens overnight, right? We've seen the web evolve, right, with companies early on, like the Yahoos of the world, with kind of what we call Web 0, and then slowly evolving to Web 1.0, 2.0, which means just slowly getting more and more connections, right? And now we actually have the infrastructure, we have the capabilities to have connected business models, and this is really possible because of the blockchain. So I mentioned that we've been working, for a year doing different projects in the space, and we've noticed that industries are looking to enter this new age. They want to transition their assets, they want to digitize them, and they want to take advantage of this opportunity out there. But as I mentioned, it's not that easy. We can't just turn on that light switch, and some things that I've seen while implementing AI for clients is that there's a skill gap, there's oftentimes difficulty in trying to identify the business use case and how we can implement AI in a way that makes sense. And also there's funding issues. So people think that it's overly expensive and that it may not lead to a great return. It's a little different for blockchain because working with clients, right, we have to establish a general understanding first. So I'll give you a second to read this. And sometimes when I go into conversations with people, this is kind of what happens and where it goes. I think mauve is a great color, though. I recommend it. A lot of storage. But I find out a lot what I'm doing with blockchain involves education and kind of not only mentioning the benefits, but allowing whoever I'm speaking to understand how that could impact them. And through this process, right, we've started to build out this list, right? These starting points for these sort of implementations, right? So things like, like high volume, very repetitive, just manual processes are very ripe for AI and blockchain applications. And through this process, right, we've developed what I like to call juicy data. And anybody who works with data realizes, the importance of having quality data. And while we've been, operating this organization for a year, with this globally distributed team, we've been looking to take in as many inputs as we could. So that involves thousands of phone conversations. We record and catalog every conversation we have with someone looking to join our organization, any client call, things like public Slack channels, emails, and also project information. We didn't think it was good enough to have a project, complete the project, and be like, okay, was the client happy? Yes. That's not enough. We live in an exciting time, and our data needs to match that. So instead of asking, is the project done, how was it done? What was the quality of that work? And how can we quantify that data in a way that makes the estimation process easier, that makes compensation more transparent, and allows people to really achieve the appropriate compensation for the effort that they're putting in? So we developed this vision. And it really came from the basis that it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't even matter about your background. It's just about the value that you're adding. And we use this vision to steer this data that we have, right? So we like to take this data, we like to take this vision and just create, kind of this awesome blend. And what that blend is a quantitative meritocracy, where value, and that data backing up the value, is the big driver. And through those thousands of phone conversations that we've cataloged, through those conversations, through speaking with clients, we developed this intuition about contributors, right? And we kind of developed these 3 overarching categories that range from incentivization to governance to growth. And now I know you're thinking like, Ben, you spent time digging through millions of data points to tell me that contributors just cared about getting paid? That's not it. It's more than that. It comes down to value. It comes to being appropriately compensated. It comes back to the idea of feedback and transparency, being open, having access to opportunities, growing. And diving into an example, right, when we talk about incentivization, we lean against a lot of blockchain technologies for this. So we developed this idea of a proposal system, and this is essentially how a project flows through our ecosystem. It starts out with someone proposing an idea, and then that flows through, the expert consensus. It also flows through different stages of feedback. And through that process, we're able to learn insight. We're able to adjust. We're able to grow and learn. And ultimately, that leads to, the deliverable and then the compensation and payout. The big advantage that we see with this is that it's more transparent, right? We're able to accurately estimate upfront, and we're able to keep our compensation in line with what we specified in the beginning. Governance. So based on the intuition we pulled out, we developed this idea of a liquid democracy. And the real power of that is that voting is a very tiring process. It requires a lot of effort. But if there was a way for me to provide my vote through someone else, through a proxy, there's a lot of power in that. Not because it makes my life easier, but think about decisions that you don't feel qualified on. If someone came up to me and was like, Ben, I need you to make a schnitzel, I would say, you know what, that's great, but I'm not really qualified to do that. I don't have a lot of experience doing that. Can I delegate that to my mother, who's an amazing cook? I think she'd be better at making that for me. The same is true with voting. If a project comes in and it's AI-based and you don't have a background in AI and you don't feel comfortable voting it, why not being able to delegate that to someone who does feel comfortable with that? The real power of this is that you could have a network with hundreds of thousands of contributors, and this idea of super proxies, which are those who receive a delegated vote. You could have, a couple dozen being able to make the decision of hundreds of thousands. That leads to faster quorum, that leads to more efficient processes and better decision making. And then growth. So we're starting to see a trend now with the evolution of contributors, right? Workers today are disengaged, right? They either leave jobs for money or to make a difference, and something just feels off. We really see the worker of tomorrow valuing this freedom and flexibility and appropriate compensation. So we're doing everything we can to build to that. This is just a high-level example. I'm going to run through it real quickly out of interest in time. But this is essentially how a company is able to utilize this proposal system to not only get feedback, but also track the progress, get new data points, and deliver. So what does this all mean, right? I'm just going to kind of run through these questions, right? It's like, will my company become extinct if I don't embrace innovation, right? Are the security requirements changing? How do we capture this idea of value? Should we think about AR and virtual reality now if we talk about decentralized collaboration? And my favorite is Web 3.0 really as cool as Ben says it is? The answer is yes to all those. But I think we should keep it simple. We can't focus on the nitty-gritty as we're kind of moving, things are moving fast. All of you know you're in this space. Innovation is moving incredibly quickly. And so that's why it's important to have these two guiding principles, right? And this is really kind of what sets us apart, I think, and then what we focus on, because at the end of the day, this is what matters, right? Allowing contributors to provide the best work of their life and focusing on efficiency and opportunity for organizations. That is my presentation. Does anybody have any questions? Might get off the hook easy.
Questions, please. Could be about basketball, anything. I don't see you. You're so dark. There's a question. Yeah, the gentleman back, please.
Thanks for that, Ben. Just to maybe give us a little bit more flavor in terms of the services that your company actually provides and the types of clients that you've worked with in the past. Because I think it was a great presentation. It was a little on the abstract. Yeah. So just to make it a little more tangible.
Yeah, of course. So I would say it's ranged from startups to publicly traded companies who have heard these buzzwords of artificial intelligence, blockchain, but want to understand how that can be wrapped into their exact business use case. So a lot of the work, starts with this educational component where we'll come in and provide things like AI workshops. We'll look at the business model and identify synergies or advantages by us leveraging kind of these forefront technologies. And that's really been the transition to, more follow-on work. But I would say the introductory conversations are always companies that have heard these terms and want to learn more. And our job is to explain them clearly in a way that allows them to not only understand the technology, but understand how it can apply directly to them and allow them to picture themselves using it in their normal day-to-day workflow.
Thank you.
More questions? No? Okay. You can ask him later if you like. Okay, thank you so much, Ben. Great talk. Very nice.